Awesome. Thank you, Regina. And good morning, everyone, and welcome. Thank you for joining us for another edition of New England Chapter Connects. We have another very important topic today, and that is public works advocacy and visibility. Be that voice. We have nearly 50 registered for today's session. So I want to thank everybody for joining us, and again, welcome. My name is Rich Benevento. I am the APWA Region 1 Director, and it's great to be here to kick off this important topic. All too often, the public works community is overlooked for the vital and necessary functions that it provides. Some might even say that public works is the best kept secret in public service. Today's session will discuss bringing in the important message to government officials, the general public, and even our very own membership about the value and importance of public works in our communities. Why? Well, because public works is essential in improving the quality of life for everybody. So this session will also discuss, just like police and fire, public works professionals are also first responders. So often when disaster strikes, it's public works professionals that are out there clearing roads, removing snow, clearing down trees, repairing washed out roads. And like many of our colleagues who are no longer with us, they even sometimes make the ultimate sacrifice in their calling to public service. For today's session, we will hear from APWA Government Affairs staff who will present key information on the importance of public works visibility and media outreach and how to engage with them. Examples of how to implement visibility and outreach programs will be discussed. The session will also include a brief legislative update as well. But just a couple of things before we get started. First, many thanks to our Public Works Awareness Committee and Education Committee. These groups are working hard to bring important topics to our members and to bring speakers to our panels that sometimes our membership do not necessarily have access to. So it's a great group. They're doing great work to support public works in our membership. Also, a big shout out to our program producer, Regina Hackett. Regina does an amazing job organizing communications, logistics, and technology for the New England Chapter Connects program. So we want to thank Regina. We certainly could not do this program without you. So thank you. And of course, let's not forget our APWA New England Chapter sponsors. Without the support of our sponsors, we could not bring all of the valuable programs and events to our members and the public work community. Our sponsors continue to step up to support the New England Chapter and APWA and the public works community. So we want to thank our sponsors. We couldn't do it without them as well. The New England Chapter Connects program was originally created to keep us all connected. Today's session will wrap up our spring 2025 season, but we already have some great topics lined up for our fall sessions that start in September. The first one being Thursday, September 25th, again, 11 to noon time. The topic, gravel road maintenance 101, keeping things smooth. So you'll want to sure to mark your calendars for that so that you can tune in. And remember, all of the New England Chapter Connect sessions are recorded. So if you or your staff or crew miss any of the topics, you can watch them anytime by logging in onto the chapter website at newengland.apwa.org. This is also a great opportunity for your operations and maintenance folks. We know that a lot of public works departments will air these sessions at lunchtime in the lunchroom. So it's also an opportunity for education programs for your staff. Lastly, if you're not an APWA member and would like to be, or you'd like more information on our New England Chapter Connect sessions, or you're interested in becoming a sponsor, all of this information can also be found on the chapter website at newengland.apwa.org. Okay, so let's get going. It's with great pleasure to introduce our distinguished speakers this morning from APWA. Andrea Eales is the APWA's Director of Government and Public Affairs and has led the association's U.S. Government Affairs program at the APWA Washington, D.C. office since January 2015. 10 years, Andrea. There you go. Andrea is originally from the Northeast Ohio, and graduated with a bachelor's degree in political science from the University of Akron, with a certificate in applied politics from the Ray C. Bliss Institute of Applied Politics. Andrea also has her master's degree in international affairs from Georgetown University. Her professional experience includes working on various levels of political campaigns, serving as a staff member in the U.S. Senate for former Senator and now Governor Mike DeWine of Ohio. Additionally, Andrea has previously worked for the National Association of Counties, Georgetown University, and the Naval Criminal Investigative Service, NCIS. I've seen them on TV. Andrea resides in Northern Virginia with her family. So good morning, Andrea, and thank you for being here. Mark Shade has served as APWA's Government Affairs Media Manager in the Washington, D.C. office for nearly 4 years. Prior to APWA, Mark was the press secretary for the Pennsylvania Attorney General, communications director in the Pennsylvania House of Appropriations Committee, press secretary for several Pennsylvania state senators, and deputy communications director for the then Pennsylvania Governor Ed Rendell. Before working in state government, Mark worked as a print, online, and broadcast journalist for several companies, including Reuters, CapitalWire.com, the Harrisburg Patriot News, and MLB Network. He is the proud dad of a 29-year-old daughter, Olivia, who has completed her PhD in chemistry at the University of Pittsburgh and is now working on her postdoctorate at Stanford University. So very good. And congratulations to your daughter. Anyway, welcome, Andrea and Mark, and thank you for being here this morning. Let's get started. Andrea, I'm going to toss it right over to you. So welcome.
Wonderful. Thank you, Rich. And Mark is going to share our slides. So we will get started. Thank you, everyone, for being here, and thank you for the invitation. It's special to hear you're in year 5 of New England Chapter Connects online sessions. And wonderful that we get to cap off your spring session. So today, as Rich outlined briefly, we are going to talk about the who, the what, and the why of government affairs and your role, what we do here in the Washington, D.C. office on your behalf, and how we need your voices locally at the chapter level to be that strong grassroots network. So first of all, let me start off by showing you who makes up the D.C. office. I've already been introduced, so I'll skip me and Mark. Jeff Finnegan is Government Affairs Specialist, and Jeff makes sure everything in our office functions well. And legislatively, he is our team lead on workforce development. I should mention that though I oversee all of our government affairs policy priorities, which I'll speak about in just a few moments, my primary issue that I monitor daily is transportation. Then Marty Williams, Government Affairs Manager. Marty has been with APWA about 8.5 years, and he is our lead on emergency management issues. And then our newest team member, Leah Harnish, Government Affairs Manager. She is in week 3 with the APWA DC team, and she's our team lead on water issues. So that gives you a little bit of a breakdown and the faces with the names that you see often on social media and APWA's Washington Report, etc. Next slide, please. So Rich hit on these, but it's just kind of fun to put little icons and visual attachments to our backgrounds and what brought us to APWA. It is very hard to believe that I have been with APWA 10 years already. But as he mentioned, I'm from Ohio originally, born and raised there. I've been in DC now for 28 years come July, working on or around Capitol Hill, politics, political science grad, passion, and my love. But I'm happy to be here and love public works more than any other group I've had the pleasure to work with. Next slide, please. And I'll let Mark speak to this.
So that's kind of me, and it's kind of what Rich talked about, my background, broadcasting. I left college, Elizabethtown College, and my first job was as a pizza delivery person, which was kind of fun but odd after 4 years of school. But my first news job was at WKBA in a small town in Lewistown, Pennsylvania. Did that for a couple of years and went on to WHP 580, which is a media market station. I thought, here we go. It's going to be fun. It's going to be Major League. But speaking of Major League, I've been doing Major League Baseball for the past 14 seasons as an audio video technician. So I'm getting, frequent, if not every day, but not even every weekend, but every now and then get to be on a baseball field in either Washington or Baltimore or sometimes Philly, and get to work with the reporters there and the baseball players. And it's been a great experience. As Rich said, traditional newspaper and online reporter. The online reporting came at capitalwire.com, which was a startup back in 2000. And I was one of the first reporters hired there. Reuters, got to cover some large stories, the Jerry Sandusky scandal at Penn State, and what have you. And then as in government, I started with Ed Rendell as a communications secretary, deputy communications director, moved on to the Senate of Pennsylvania, where I worked for a number of state senators, if not all of them at times, and then the House Appropriations Committee, and then the Attorney General's office. And Andrea and I are just really outlining this so you understand our background, and so we can talk with some, hopefully, legitimacy about public visibility and what it takes to do it. I mean, we do understand, when I was a journalist, I didn't want to talk to somebody like me who managed the association or the organization. I wanted to talk to people directly in it. And then when I became a public relations person, I didn't want reporters to talk to anybody but me. So I get it. It's kind of good, kind of scary. Yeah, it just it's something that you juggle, and it doesn't always work, but most of the time it does. And our message to you in terms of public visibility is, you don't have to do it alone, or there's nothing scandalous about what you're doing. It's just talking about what you do as a chapter. And if you want to talk individually about your public works departments, that's great too. But it's just all about just getting the message out there repeatedly, beginning conversations with reporters who you think may not care, but they do. They're just super busy right now. And I can't imagine being a reporter these days with smaller newsrooms and having to know everything and do everything. More than one story a day, you're probably doing 2 or 3 stories a day. The too busy part is a big thing. Back to Andrea.
So what is the purpose of government affairs? We, day to day, we track legislation. We be your voice here in Washington, D.C. We are resourced to advocate at the federal level, to educate members of Congress, federal agency officials, and their staff, whether it's legislation, whether it's regulations that impact the work you all do every single day. It is our job to educate those policymakers about the practical implications for public works every day as you serve your communities. We push that information out to all of you through resources, which we will show you where those are located, to help you better be that voice as the strategic plan outlines for public works. It is our goal to influence policy, influence regulations, to make your jobs easier, better, more efficient. And then with our chapters, working with members, whether we're engaging with you at PWX and you come to our legislative action event that we host every year at the annual conference, or you invite us to come to your chapters. We budget to travel to the chapters. I have been with the New England chapter in person before. Pre-COVID, it's been a few years, but had a wonderful time. And we travel around the country and we tailor our trainings to what it is you need. So whether it's a legislative update, whether it's how do you talk to reporters and doing some actual walking through exercises to do that, whether it's how to prepare for a meeting with a lawmaker at every single level. If you're talking to your city council, if you're talking to your county commissioner, if you're talking to your member of Congress, we are here to help you be more comfortable with these processes and to empower you to do so. Next slide, please. So as I mentioned, certainly government affairs is a huge part of APWA's strategic plan. We are that voice, to be the voice of public works to lawmakers, the public, and the media. We also support membership in chapters, educational and credentialing, and we provide value as that voice on your behalf here in DC. Next slide, please. And we have a process because we like to make sure that our public policies not only align best with our members' work and what the fields most of you work in every day, we want to keep them relevant and timely. We look at what Congress is working on, what Congress is likely to be working on. There's a little bit of a crystal ball effect in government affairs work for sure. Monitoring news, and you get a sense of it. It's definitely much more an art than a science in a lot of ways, but we work very closely with APWA members. Court Blomquist, who's a member of APWA's Government Affairs Committee, as well as the New England chapter, is on today's call. Thank you, Court, for being here. And he is a fantastic voice on the 12-member GAC committee at the federal level, primarily speaking up on emergency management issues, as well as other local government impacts of federal law and regulations. So what we do, the Government Affairs team in DC, we work with the Government Affairs Committee. These members come from all over the country, have background and expertise in our primary public policy areas, which are emergency management, transportation, and water resiliency. And each congressional cycle, so every 2 years, we work together to review the public policy priorities, see what we've achieved in the current Congress, see what we still would like to achieve in the incoming Congress, and we update those policies. We also, about every other cycle, do a survey of our membership, again, to make sure that we are keeping our thumbs on the pulse of what is important to you all as you do your jobs locally. And then we update those policy priorities. We also, I should mention, invite technical committees to be a part of this. We reach out to the key staff liaisons for each APWA technical committee. We ask for 1 to 2 volunteers from those committees to be a part of the public policy review and update process, because that just brings in more representation, more voices that are important to making sure our policies say what need to be said to lawmakers. And the policy documents are written in a way that they can be utilized for every level of advocacy and engagement. Once we have updated these policy priorities, they then go to the board of directors, and the board of directors reviews, and hopefully we've been successful so far. Every cycle we get a thumbs up. These are approved. Please move forward. And then in January, every other year, with the start of a new session of Congress, we walk these policies up to Capitol Hill. We send them via email. We set up meetings. We are very consistently on Capitol Hill every week in some way when Congress is in session. And we also send out all this information to the chapters, again, to encourage you all to use them in a grassroots way in educating your peers, colleagues, and lawmakers at every level. Next slide, please. These are our current public policy priorities, the 119th Congress. They just came into session in January of this year, and they will be in session until January of 2027. So these policies will stand until then, but we will begin our work with the GAC about a year from now, maybe a little earlier than that, looking again where we are and where we want to be. And these policies, Mark will show you in a few minutes where the resources are downloadable. They're PDF files, so you can easily share them. And then on this page are our policymaker primers. Primers are not prescriptive policy documents like the policy priorities are, but rather they're areas of interest and public works expertise about which many members of Congress may not have awareness. For instance, with right-of-way management, there are a lot of lawmakers, as I'm sure you know, that have no idea that Public Works owns and operates right-of-way management at the local level. They're not quite fully educated on the impact on the public works workforce of recent years. The aging, as in every industry, is at this moment a lot of people retiring out, bringing new people into the public works workforce. So we came up with a workforce development primer. That area in particular is relevant to every bit of work that we do in the public works industry, as you know, and all of our policy work as well. And then we have asset management, because we would like to see that used more broadly across the federal government. And then resiliency. Why is it important to have infrastructure that will last for a longer period of time and protect lives, property, communities? So we put together just some data about the public works role in particular in the resiliency of our infrastructure. We're currently in the process of updating 2 of these primers, the right-of-way management and the resiliency one, just for updated statistics and information, but they'll pretty much stay the same. Again, these are available PDF form, can be downloaded and easily shared from the apwa.org website. Next slide, please. And then just to give you a sense, again, with some fun icons of all the Senate and House committees that have a nexus to public works policy and legislation, we connect with every single one of these federal committees that function on Capitol Hill to tell your story, to educate them about your work, and to influence legislation and regulations that they are working on. Next slide. And then federal agencies. As I mentioned, we also work very closely with federal agencies, whether you're talking about cybersecurity and the Department of Homeland Security, or you're talking about the Department of Transportation and all the agencies that fall under there, education, Department of Labor, Environmental Protection Agency, Army Corps. We work with all of these entities in some capacity. They touch public works. Next slide. And Mark, now to you.
Well, now that you have all that background, how to actually be the voice. I mean, the voice is a key tenet of APWA. It's what we're about. We do the work, and then we have to tell people about what we're doing. And same goes for you as a chapter, as a new chapter. I mean, reporters, they can seem scary, especially if you don't know them. Some of them are just odd. They're really not scary at all. Some of them are afraid of you. They don't know what to ask. They don't know how to start a conversation. They don't even know maybe how to contact you. So these are something to keep in mind, because it's like they just lots to do. I talked about it a little bit before. They may be on deadline when you're trying to encourage them to cover a story. They may be doing something else. They may have like 4 other stories going at the same time, and the news director like at them like, why aren't you getting this done? We need more information, that kind of stuff. So, but they do want to hear from you, especially if you have something to share that will better inform their reporting, things that they don't know about. You do the C2, you do conferences, you do learning sessions all the time. So occasionally, engage a reporter to join in on one of those, either virtually or in person. It's a great local story. The New York Times isn't going to cover it, but a smaller newspaper will cover it. Watertown, New York may cover it. Whatever. I know they're maybe not in your chapter, but sorry. But the point is, medium-sized markets, newspapers, TV stations are interested in this stuff, and they will cover it if you do it frequently and you engage them, keep them informed frequently of when these things are happening. Journalists like color. There's the old adage, if it bleeds, it leads. Fortunately, nothing that you do is about that. If it is bloody, it's a bad accident or something. So we don't go there, and they'll know about it anyway. You don't have to invite them to that. But they would like to cover your rodeo. If you do rodeos, and I know you do, please invite them. It's great coverage. It's a positive story. And don't just invite them. Let them come operate some machinery. Let them try to navigate around cones in a front end loader. It's those kinds of stuff. It's a great story, and it's good public visibility for you. Like images, video, so that kind of stuff. And then how to get it out. I'm not going to show you a form of way to do it. You can connect with reporters through social media. You can engage your communities, not just reporters, but you can engage your communities through social media, through all your social media channels. The rodeo, do that, yes. And the point is, you gotta work on your relationship. You can't just throw a bone out there and say, hey, we love you to cover this. And if they don't, you stop. The point is to go back to them again, invite them for another event, invite them for another learning session, and just keep working it until they go, oh, okay. I've been looking forward to your next email, the next social media message, whatever. I'm glad we're finally doing this. And once they know what everything is about, then coverage is more likely. And it's not of you, it's not of anybody else. It's not about your Department of Public Works. It's not about what your mayor and their administration is doing. It's about what you do generally as a public works professional, but also as what your chapter is doing, and more broadly, which is also still important, to weave in the fact that American Public Works Association, APWA, is part of this. And so it's great you get the public visibility, but APWA mentions, we like them. So rest assured, if you do all this stuff, you're not going to be thrown in front of a massive press conference where reporters are from all over the place and asking you pointed questions. That's not going to happen. But you can hope for, if you do this not correctly, if you're consistent with your outreach, you can hope for a one-on-one TV interview, a rodeo story, maybe a phone interview, or just something that is not as, there's no camera involved, but you're still getting your message out. You're raising your public visibility that way. And then who knows, you may get a story in the daily news, in your newspaper, which is always the best thing. It's fun to point to, and it's another great thing to share on social media and in your newsletters and broadly. So part of what we're doing, I mean, as a media manager, I take our public visibility and our policymaker primers, and I share those with not just reporters. I share those with communications directors and chiefs of staff on the Capitol Hill. So they get all of those things. And what's developed out of this, the Engineering and Public Works Roadshow, I'm sure a lot of you on this call are familiar with the Roadshow. It started 3 years ago, August 2022. And it started because our CEOs got together, our CEOs from ACEC, ASCE, and Scott Grayson. They got together saying, hey, we all do these awards, but we do them in our own silos. It would be great if we showcase all this great infrastructure on a road show. And so that's how the Engineering and Public Works Roadshow came about. We've been very busy. We've done 20 events since our inception. We had 4 recently in 3 weeks. And we will be on June 10th. The roadshow will be in Worcester for the Doherty Memorial High School building, which is a brand new building. Teaches trades, teaches engineering, and we'll be there to showcase, spotlight that great project. APWA President Dominic Longobardi is going to be there emceeing, and Rich is going to be there as well to deliver remarks on behalf of APWA. There's a link there, the Roadshow, that takes you to the Roadshow page, website. It has all of the past events and all of the pictures. These are all positive events. For our perspective, we only talk about public works. ACEC and ASCE talk more about engineering. ASCE is a little bit of a hybrid message, but that's okay. And we handle out these crystal awards. People are happy. People who have worked in their own silo on these projects, they finally get to meet each other, and they get to meet the public officials who were part of the process for getting funding and making things move forward. So it's a really fun project, and it's a great event just about every time. And the weather is always perfect. It's been odd. And then an offshoot of the Roadshow is the Engineering Workforce Consortium. EWC workforce is a major public visibility goal. We're doing it, and we thought there could be a better, more concerted way, more amped way of doing it. And so the consortium was developed. It was officially signed into being last Halloween. And there are more than 15, I believe, organizations that are part of the consortium. The goal of it obviously is to attract students, the next generation public works workforce, but also engineers. We tried to get public works in the name of consortium, but we were overruled or something. It was fine. But we're a part of every consortium event, and just so you know about that. Public works first responders. Rich said it at the top of our webinar. They are that. Not everybody agrees with that, and that's okay. Not everybody, but you're all there. I mean, the thing with first responders, they're there when you need them. You guys are there all the time. So you're in the front lines all the time. There is a small voice now of public works departments wanting to be considered as critical responders. That's okay too. Not sure how that's going to flesh out over the coming weeks, months, years, but it's something interesting to consider. States, President Bush back in 2003 recognized public works employees as first responders in his directive. 2010, Mississippi did it. 2019, the U.S. passed a Senate concurrent resolution expressing support for October 28th, 2019 is honoring the nation's First Responders Day. And then, as you know, 2022, New Hampshire Governor Sununu signs SB 325 into law, making public works and other skilled support personnel to the definition of first responders. So it's still it's a major effort for us. Marty Williams is chief among the cheerleaders for public works first responders. I'm kind of right there on social media. We both do social media, so if you check our feeds, you'll see that. So, and Georgia, these other states are working for first responder recognition too. So I think Georgia's kind of close. Still some work to be done there, but New York Metro, South Tennessee chapters, they've all talking to state and local officials about first responder, public works first responders. And then, Andrea, if you want to join in this conversation, I mean, it's kind of like the conversation we have about getting to know your reporters before you need them. So it's the same thing. Have conversations with your police departments, your fire departments. Make sure they know what you do and what you have to offer them before it's actually needed and you're scrambling. It makes a big difference.
Yeah, I will add on that last slide about the relationships. The best time to get to know your chiefs of police, your fire chiefs, and your other team that you work with when an incident happens. As you all know, Public Works often goes in first to clear the way during a weather event, for instance, or certainly when there's snow. And so if you already have those connections and relationships in advance, things go a lot smoother. You're already recognized by your peers and you can coordinate in a much better way. And then when something does go sideways, certainly the press, your friends in fire and police, and your public are willing to give you a little bit of more of a break because they're aware of what it is Public Works is doing at the front end through an event and then restoring essential services once an event has passed. I also want to mention the flyer that Mark showed. Rich Benevento worked with Marty and I on putting that together, and it's just ideas to raise the profile of Public Works roles and responsibility when it comes to events that happen. Again, whether it's a natural disaster, whether it's a man-made event, Public Works is very, very often right at the heart of it. So this product is also available, PDF form, can download and share it. Take it to a coffee with your chief of police. Say, let's talk about what we work on together here, just as one example for how you can use this product. And then connect with the other chapters who are working on these efforts as well, which Mark showed. You can coordinate there too. What kind of luck are you having? What barriers are you facing? Help one another out, share each other's information. That's what the network is for. Any questions on first responders' efforts or comments before we go forward?
Andrea, I'd just like to add something if I can relative to both topics that we're talking about. One being Public Works as first responders, but also visibility. So one of the things that the New England chapter has done is and it's presented at the National Public Works Week luncheon, is the New England Chapter APWA Public Works First Responder Award, where individuals who have come to the service of others are recognized. And there was a recent one this year, a house fire, where public works professionals were out there working and actually responded to get folks out of the house before other emergency response people showed up. It's important to recognize those first responders, number one, but number two, it's also an opportunity for this media relations program, so to let folks know, folks outside of our membership, outside of the public works community, elected officials, moms and dads, residents and constituents help realize that public works professionals are first responders as well. So it's a good way to kind of both recognize these folks that put themselves in harm's way to help others, but also to get that message out to others as well. So just something I wanted to mention.
Thank you, Rich. And the New England chapter, you all have been so fantastic in these efforts and the public visibility, leading the charge there and getting more attention for public works across the board, whether it be first responder efforts, whether it be how is wastewater handled in your local communities, whether it be reaching out to your state legislatures. We hear stories from Court, Rich, and many of you online here today all the time about that visibility effort and that outreach. That's all advocacy, and that all helps you to be able to get more support for what you do for your communities every day. All right, next.
Andrea, one last thing, because you
Yeah.
guys do such a great job. All of the things that you talk about, I can't stress enough that this is available to members, correct? I mean, people can
Yes.
contact you, whether they're trying to get visibility in their community or in their chapter or anything else, but you and the staff in the DC office are available. Is that right?
Yes, you can email or call us anytime. Mark will show you later in our presentation how to reach us, and we'll go over the resources. Thank you, Rich. But that's what we're here for, to support
If you need help getting the name or contact information for a specific reporter, we can do that.
Yes, thank you. So why advocate? As we've all gotten on our soapboxes here the past 4 or 5 minutes about what we need you to do, why do all this? What's the purpose of it? Well, you're the experts. So if you're not speaking up for public works consistently and actively, who's going to do it? A lot of lawmakers are jacks of all trades. There have not been many members of Congress that have worked in public works. We've had several engineers, which is one aspect and incredibly important. But in the time that I've been with APWA, there's been exactly one public works director to serve in Congress, and he's no longer in Congress. And I believe he served 2 terms. And it was great to connect with his office, and he understood and he spoke up for APWA and was a great asset. But we need more and more of that grassroots network being consistent. Also, lawmakers and the media have limited resources. They're pulled in many different directions. They're stretched. They have their own areas of focus and expertise. Again, likely not a public works expertise. Be that resource. You are helping them better help your communities, better tell the story, better write legislation, regulations. Plus, there's power in numbers. The more the merrier, as the phrase goes. The more public works professionals that speak up, the louder the voices become, the better impact we can have. It affects where you live. It affects where the people covering the stories live. They live where you live and work. Their families do. Lawmakers live and work where you live and work. You're serving them. Again, your advocacy is helping them to be better in their jobs. Also, it increases your professional value, of course. It gives you more experience. It gives you more diverse experience. It gives you a wider network about whom you can talk to about public works. It's more fun than you think. Again, it's really just about relationships. You all are active in your chapter because you like to be around other people with similar interests. You're social people. That's all it is. Advocacy, talking to the media, talking to your community, kids' soccer games, churches, wherever you spend your time at work and outside of work, you're using a network of relationships and friendships. Talk about public works, not in an obnoxious way, but people are interested because most regular people who don't work in public works have no idea how their water is delivered to their house every single day, or what happens when the recycling is picked up at the curb, who handles the solid waste centers, etc. It is a fun social network, just advocating and getting out there and telling the stories. Next slide, please. So how do you do this? Who do you contact? We put together this list of key positions both in the district office and also in the Washington, D.C. office. As Mark said, if you need help finding who's the chief of staff for Senator Collins of Maine, for instance, we can help you find that information. We can help you set up a meeting both in the state and or here in DC. If you come to DC with your family, if you come to DC for National Public Works Week or as part of any other group meeting, let us know in advance. We want to help you. We just make that connection, can provide you with materials and the support that you need to do that. But these are the key people in every office, both at the state and local levels and in the DC office, and the people to know. Schedulers are key. And in the state, constituent services directors are key because they know the priorities locally. In being the voice, you already have an active, very active public visibility committee, a government affairs committee. Utilize those. A lot of chapters have them combined into one committee and they work together, and that, spreads the wealth of the activities that need to be done to be successful. Align with APWA's plan and policy priorities. You already have ready-made products for those efforts. And I can't stress enough, in addition to creating the relationships when there's not an emergency happening, be consistent. When you're inviting the media, when you're inviting local officials to a chapter event, do it every time. Invite them to be a speaker, invite them to a rodeo, invite them to a spring conference, a touch-a-truck event, whatever it is you are doing as a chapter, invite them. They'll get to know you, they'll come to rely on you, and again, it creates that relationship and network. Have some facts together. How many states are included in the New England chapter? How many members is that? How much population are all those combined states that you are serving as the New England chapter of Public Works? Reach out to other like-minded groups. ASCE, ACEC, federations of municipalities in Canada, for instance. You're closer to Canada. These are all like-minded groups with common interests, common goals, and interesting and common stories to share that you can bring together and be a more effective network advocating. And know your legislature's schedule. All this information is public. NewHampshire.gov, for instance. You can go, you can see the schedule for the state legislature, who serves on which committees, where they are within your state, and just do outreach to them and invite them to things. Monitor when hearings are happening that are relevant to you. In our Washington report, we list on the horizon all the federal hearings happening on Capitol Hill that coming week that you should be aware of and that we are monitoring. Next slide, please. Mark, you want to speak to the resources really quick?
Sure. And here's some of the ammunition you can use. I mean, we've already talked about the primers and the public policy priorities, but we have these other things. We have a website page dedicated to IIJA, the infrastructure law. It has all of the current opportunities for grants, but it also is a compendium of all of the webinars that we've done since the inception of IIJA. We have state sheets, which list the top projects in each state. It's not just Vermont, Rhode Island, Massachusetts. It's every state in your chapter, plus every state in the country too. The Public Works Roadshow really got to emphasize the Washington report. Assuming you are an APWA member, everybody is. So make sure that you're getting the Washington report. It's a great way to get a recap of things that have happened in Washington, are happening in Washington. And that happens every Monday that the legislature, the House or Senate or both, are in session. So great thing to do. And then if you really want to be like all in all the time, then we're on social media. We're on X at APWA Gov Affairs, and we're on LinkedIn, which is, you just have to look for APWA Government Affairs because it's hard to just articulate the link. It's complicated. But anyway, it works. And we're getting great traction on LinkedIn. We get a lot of positive interaction on LinkedIn. It's a growing channel, and please join us there. Like and comment, share your good public works stories, and love to have it. And then our staff, if I click that link, it will go back to the top of the page, and I have to scroll through all the pages again to get back, but just wanted you to have that just in case. We have the IIJ resource page. It's linked here. I think Regina is putting it in the chat. Advocacy letters. From time to time, we speak out as a group to either federal committees, federal agencies, the White House itself, about things they're talking about changing or things that we think could be changed for APWA perspectives. These are things that we're not doing up on our own as a government affairs team. It's something that our membership, you say this is important to us, and we go from there. Our public works research, in addition to the state sheets, you can find our what is public works trifold and a host of other things. There's an economic impact study there from 2023, and lots of good stuff. There's primers on bond funding, so that's another good resource. And then our action alerts. We stress this probably as often as we talk about Washington Report and our social media channels, but yes, text PWX to 52886, and you'll get action alerts they're already written for you. It's again from a public works perspective, an APWA perspective, urging your own 2 senators and U.S. representative to take action on either legislation, regulation, you name it. And it's a great, easy way to do that converted. Everybody's doing it at the same time, increasing our public visibility. The Washington Report we talked about, our social media channels, our House Public Works and Infrastructure Caucus, it's co-chaired by Jeff Van Drew from New Jersey and Dina Titus from Nevada. And Tell Your Story. This is important. I'm running out of time, but I just spent a little bit of time with this. We were seeking before, I'm not sure what it was, like video of Tell Your Story about being a public works professional. We've changed it within the past couple of weeks for you to give us specific examples of, say, how IIJA is working or isn't working. Did a build grant, was that successful? Did you get it? Did you spend it the way, not did you spend it the way, but you know what I'm saying. Any kind of federal program that you have experience with, if you feel like you should share it with us, please do share it with us. The Tell Your Story page now has drop downs, and it has specific categories that you can add information. You don't have to add video. You don't have to show your face. You just have to share the information so we can have it. It's good information for us because every time we visit anybody on Capitol Hill, they always say, well, tell us these stories. We need to know, because we always offer ourselves as resources. So you help us, we help them, and everybody's happy. And then all of a sudden, our Washington Insight, our GAC Insight, and our public awareness columns in Reporter magazine. Every month, we're writing a public visibility column about chapters, what they're doing, also about just other things important, and the Horton here's a who, we are here kind of messaging in Reporter magazine. National Public Works Week was last week. Great events. We had donuts and trucks on Thursday. On the Tuesday prior, we had a workforce roundtable that had public works directors from several large cities throughout the country, and also U.S. Labor Secretary DeRimmer, Lori Chavez DeRimmer, came and visited, spoke, and asked again, say, I need to know how I can help you, what's going on, that kind of stuff. So it's true what we say. And Representative Titus also visited with us. And the reception we had Tuesday nights, we had Representative Marianne Miller Meeks, Representative Andy Biggs, And Jeff friend Drew came to speak a little bit with us, recognizing the top 10 public works leaders of the year, and also some of the people from the projects of the year for 2024. And we did a recap, and it's listed here. If Gina will put that in the chat, it's just what I just basically talked about.
Yeah, it's there.
Great.
All right, and I'm going to do a brief run through of just high notes for legislative update. Next slide, please, Mark. But if you read your Washington report, every Monday it is sent out unless you've opted out of receiving. You can read in 10 minutes or less what's happening in Congress and federal agencies about which you need to be aware for your day-to-day jobs. If you're not receiving it for some reason, reach out to me. I will help you there. Couple things to highlight for emergency management. FEMA is going through some changes at the moment. The President and the Homeland Security Secretary would like to rethink how FEMA works and set it up differently. There is bipartisan legislation that's been introduced to actually elevate FEMA to a higher level, remove it from the Department of Homeland Security, where it has been since after the attacks of September 11, 2001. And actually, this could help FEMA in its mission. It would become cabinet level, headed by a director with an inspector general, etc. So we need to hear from you, our members, about what functions of public works need to be for certain included in any kind of reworking of the Federal Emergency Management Agency. And this is legislation we're following very closely and reaching out to its sponsors about. Next slide. The National Flood Insurance Program currently is in effect until September 30 of this year. We are in our 33rd short-term extension, but this is incredibly important to areas and regions of the country affected by flooding, which is pretty much anywhere you live in the United States. At some point, it is completely possible. This program has had a lot of challenges, concerns about rebuilding in areas that are flood prone. This is something we're monitoring closely. We've asked Congress to do a 5-year bill at least for consistency, for populations to know what they qualify for, to assist them should they be affected by flooding in a natural disaster. More information there added, which Marty added for us, which you can check out about the program if you're not as aware of it as you would like to be. The Building Resilience in Communities grants have currently been paused, discontinued. We're not quite sure if that will come back in some other form. The funds are being redirected to Disaster Relief Fund and the U.S. Treasury. Yet another area that we need to hear from our APWA members on what's important for public works, how you use the BRIC grants, why they matter, or if they don't, what would you like to see that would improve? So we'll keep monitoring that. Certainly for transportation, the Infrastructure Investment and Jobs Act, the bipartisan infrastructure laws, it's also known, currently in effect until September 30 of 2026. Congress is in its efforts of overseeing that law, how well it's working. Both the Secretary of Transportation and then our congressional leaders have been commenting that the next iteration of an infrastructure law will look more traditional as to past surface transportation bills. So what that means for water and emergency management programs that are currently in the infrastructure law in effect, we'll be tracking. Again, need your input there. But going back to a more traditional bill is the speak at the moment. We've also heard that from the Speaker of the House's team as well. And we're advocating for a bill of at least what IIJ is. We've been told it certainly won't be bigger than what IIJ is. We've submitted comments about what's important, our policy priorities, and we've had many meetings, including when GAC was in town in April. Also, the U.S. Department of Transportation is establishing an advisory board for strategic thinking, increasing efficiencies. APWA is submitting a candidate for that position. That is due June 2nd. been working with President Longobardi and CEO Grayson on that effort as well. So hopefully, fingers crossed, we'll get a public works voice there. And then for water, the WIPES Act has passed out of both committees in the House and the Senate. We'll see where this goes in order to become law. This is basically labeling non-flushable wipes as such to protect our water systems, which I know a lot of systems in New England have been affected by so-called flushable wipes. And then NPDES permits, there's legislation to extend those. We've asked for at least 10 years in our APWA policy priorities. This is a bipartisan effort. Almost got there in the last Congress, hoping we'll get there in this Congress. And a fun note, APWA leadership was the only quotes used in press releases with that legislation when it was introduced this Congress, reintroduced. The waters of the U.S., there was a guidance memo issued in March. APWA were submitting comments June 2nd. We were specifically one of the groups invited from a federalism perspective about the implementation of waters of the U.S. in alignment with the Sackett versus EPA Supreme Court of the United States decision. WOTUS has been one of those issues that's gone back and forth for many, many years. The Trump administration has said no more. We're following what the Supreme Court said. This is what WOTUS means. Here's our memo. Please provide comments, but this is how we're going forward. And they've been holding listening sessions and webinars too. And then I mentioned at the start, workforce development. Huge for public works, huge for every industry. The Workforce Innovation and Opportunity Act probably will get considered in the fall. We've heard from Senate staff right now. They're focused on certainly getting the nominations through that are required for the new administration. But this legislation is very important and it's top on their agenda and priorities for the fall. Questions? Happy to take any in our last couple minutes together. And then the last slide has our contact information as well. I open it up to you all.
And we have time for about 80 or 90 questions, correct, Andrea? Like at least 80 or 90.
We'll stay as long as you need us, Rich.
Hey, just a couple of things. Again, thank you both for being here today. Clearly, a lot of advocacy work that's happening on behalf of public works and public works professionals. That's really great. Visibility, last week was National Public Works Week, as we all know. But visibility is not just about 1 week out of the year. Visibility in public works should be out there all the time. And again, as you heard Mark and Andrea mention this morning, the folks in the APWA DC office are available to help you with that. So take advantage of that. There are tons of committees for APWA members, technical committees and fleet and facilities, emergency management, transportation. It goes on and on and on. These folks are available to help you and your department and your agency, and you should take advantage of that. I know there are several folks from the New England chapter that are on national committees right now, technical committees, and so I would certainly take advantage of that and utilize those services. It's APWA is trying to do a lot for its members in the public works profession, so we hope that you'll take advantage of those. So I don't know if we had any questions in the chat box or anything. If we don't, again, thank you, Andrea and Mark, and I am going to hand this off to Regina to close us out for today.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you so much, Andrea and Mark. I have a QR code up on the screen, and I also have a URL link in the chat box. If all of you could just take a moment, just be a few minutes to let us know what you thought of today's webinar and what you'd like to see in the future. Thank you so much, everybody.
And look at that. We're right at noontime. Excellent. See, New England Chapter Connects. That's one of the things that's been very specific is 1 hour and 1 hour only. We know people have to get back to doing what they're doing. So thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you.